Most men spend their entire lives blaming other people for what happens to them. They blame their upbringing, they blame their parents, they blame other people. But until you realize that everything in life is your fault, or at least have this mindset, you will never change. Now, I'm not saying that everything that happens to you in your life is your fault, but you must have this mentality as a man that everything is your responsibility. The second you start blaming other people or other circumstances for where you are at in life, that is when you start to externalize and outsource your control, your power. How are you supposed to be a leader? How are you supposed to be a man who other people can rely on when you can't even take responsibility for your own life? You are where you are at because of the small decisions, the small everyday decisions that you make on a continual basis. That's why you're not where you want to be. If you're unhappy with where you're at in life, this should be empowering because you know that it's not your circumstances or anything else outside of your locus of control that's dictated why you are where you're at. Sure, there's some people out there who just have better playing cards than you. But your focus shouldn't be on that. Your focus should be on playing your cards right. Because I bet you that when you think about your dreams or your goals, where you want to be in life, there is someone who has worse circumstances than you who's gotten there. As men, we must hold ourselves accountable. Because if you don't take responsibility, if you don't train this now as a young man, then what's going to happen to you when you're older and let's just say you start to raise a family? The version of you that doesn't take responsibility and always shifts the blame on other people, do you think that your daughter is going to come to you and ask you for help? Or is she going to be this independent, sort of try and figure everything out for herself, right? And obviously, independence is a good thing, right? But imagine your own daughter or your own wife not even being able to look up to you as the man because you keep shifting blame on everyone else. You never take accountability. You don't take it upon yourself to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to fix this problem. And so people can't rely on you. The moment when I started to realize this, when I realized that everything that everything in my life is up to me. Yes, it puts more pressure on you. Yes, it means that, yes, it can be tough because you feel like, oh man, like I really don't think I did anything wrong there. Even if you look at the 1% that you did wrong, rather than focus on the 99% that they did wrong, yeah, they may have done 99% wrong. I'm not saying that you're the problem all the time, right? But you still must focus on the 1%. The 1% that you could have changed. Because the second that you start focusing on the 99% of what they did, you are no longer going to improve. You're not going to become better as a man. Right? And in life, newsflash, you're going to go through hardship. There's going to be times when things that are unfair and there's going to be circumstances that aren't going to play in your favor. There's going to be times in life where things happen that were unexpected or, like people who you thought you trusted walk out in your life. Those circumstances, they're not going to change. There's always going to be unfair circumstances that happen to you in your life. But what matters, regardless of that, is the man who you become through that. The best version of yourself, the most masculine version of yourself that you aspire to be like in your mind. When you think of yourself as a leader, someone who's killing it in life, he is the version of you who takes responsibility. He takes it upon himself. And when he does that, that's when he's in his most powerful position, because now he doesn't fixate his energy, his precious energy on things that he couldn't change anyway, but rather instead he's focused on what he can change. Like even me, something that I've particularly worked on is just not complaining as much. I think complaining is definitely something that, it's human nature. We tend to complain things that don't happen, things that happen to us that suck. Yeah, I understand it. It's easy to complain. It's easy to say my life sucks and feel sorry for yourself. But instead, what I've started to do is I've started to really regulate my emotions, really think through them and almost filter them through a sense of gratitude. When you have a problem, in a weird way, it's something you can be grateful for, because your problem is probably someone else's dream. All right, so earlier this year, I went on a mission trip as part of, with my church group, and we went to the Philippines. And bro, I tell you, we went to visit these people's houses, and when we were in their house and we asked this family, it was this woman and her daughter. When we asked them where her dad was, or her husband, they said, oh, he was at work. And then one of the person in my group asked, oh, do you mind if we, find out how much he earns a day? This father, this husband, was away from his family for the whole day for 15 AUD, right? Or I think it was 500 pesos, I don't know, right? 15 AUD, probably like 10 USD, whatever currency you want to convert that to. That's nothing. So when you think about, maybe you're working some crappy job at the moment, or, you're not making money that you're happy with, you're still earning exponentially more than 15 AUD for a full day's work. When you start to filter your problems with a sense of gratitude, and you realize that, yeah, you know what? The problems that I go through, not only are they not as significant as what I think they are. I'm not invalidating your problems, by the way. I'm not saying that your problems aren't significant. But when you can filter them through a sense of gratitude, they don't seem as significant as what you probably thought they were, right? And you stop taking this victim mentality to life. And instead you start to take responsibility. You start to see, oh, you know what? I'm not happy with where I'm at in terms of, my finances. But you know what? I've got opportunities that other people don't. So instead of fixating on what am I missing out on, or how does my life, not where I want it to be, and just fixating on those things that aren't even in your control anyway, we'll start to focus on what you can control. Start to focus on ways in which you can change and make better decisions so that you can get to where you want to go. Right? And this is a fundamental skill we must have as men, because when I look at the world around us, when I see the men that exist today, I see a lot of people blaming others. Their energy is going outwards, and we need to change that. We need to start to become leaders ourselves and start to take responsibility for our decisions. Right? And I tell you, when you start to do this, yes, it will be painful. Yes, it will be difficult, because your brain will just naturally start to think about, oh, but I know I could have done this better, but they did that much wrong. Like, once you start to have this mindset, it's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit you because you're going to become so much more capable and competent. And that's what I mean when, like, your daughter and your wife and other men will look up to you because they realize, like, oh man, like, he's going to make sure that he is going to get the job done. He's reliable because he knows and he's trained his own mind and his own attitude that he's not going to stop until he gets the job done, because it's on him. What type of man do you want to be? Do you want to continue to go through life constantly blaming other people? Sure, maybe easier in the moment, but no one will depend on you. No one will look up to you. No one will rely on you, because they know when a problem arises, they're going to find someone else. I don't want to become that man. And I hope whoever's watching this is the same. I want to be someone who other people can look up to and rely on, because they know that I am someone who is going to make sure the job gets done. And I hope that's the same for you, because it just disappoints me to see how in today's world, so many young men just keep blaming it on other people and circumstances and all of this, because your circumstances, they're always going to be there. Life is unfair. That's just the way it is. But what you can do is make the best decision that you can with the circumstances that you're in. So I hope this video speaks to some people. If you're new to this channel, my name is Luke. I make content helping young men become more masculine, and the message that I want to put across is that I want to help men become men of strength and honor. Men who have this internal strength, who have a backbone, while also being men who fight for something greater than themselves. All right, so if you resonate with this message, then subscribe, chuck a like, give me a comment, tell me how you thought of the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.